Hello people, this is Self-Tuts, and in this video we are going to learn about a basic linked list algorithm, that is how to find the length of a linked list. So first I'll explain you the problem statement and then we'll deal with the algorithm about finding the length of a linked list. So we have been given a linked list of something like this. So the linked list can be anything, but I have represented a linked list which are having 5 nodes, and the nodes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and below these are the hypothetical memory addresses on which these nodes are present. And a head node is there, or a head pointer is there, or a head reference is there which is pointing to the first node. So there are 5 nodes here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is your linked list, and the last node next value is null. This is a typical linked list that you will find, but there can be a case when the head points to a null object or there is no nodes present in that linked list. In that case, the length of the linked list is 0. So what we are doing, we are maintaining a count variable which will store the number of nodes that are present inside the linked list. So in this scenario, the count will be having a value of 0 because the head is pointing to a null object and the length of the linked list is 0. Now suppose the linked list is having some data, that is linked list is represented something like this, which means now it is having 5 nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's a head node which is the main reference node for this linked list, and we are creating a temp node because of which we can traverse through this particular linked list without modifying the head node. So at first what we are saying, that if this temp is not null, then the value of this count is 1. Because in the previous scenario we have seen that if head was null only, then the count was having a value of 0, so the length of linked list was 0. Now when we move again, then what happens? Temp moves to the next element or next node, so the value of count gets increased by 1 and its value becomes 2. Now we again move to the next node, so this time the count value becomes 3 and the temp moves to the third node. Same way it moves to the fourth node and the value of count becomes 4, and at the last it moves to the fifth node and the value of the count becomes 5. Now when we'll move this particular temp variable to the next element, then the next element is null, and in that case we need to exit the loop because we were traversing the loop from first node to second node, then third node, then fourth node and the fifth node. So we need to exit the loop. So in our previous videos we have seen that how to traverse a linked list. If you have not seen it, then please refer to my previous video that how we can traverse a linked list. In this particular question, what we are doing, while traversing the linked list, we are maintaining this count variable and we are increasing that variable by a value of 1 for each successful traversal. Which means when we move from one node to another, suppose here we were at 4 and now we are moving at 5. So we are increasing the value of count variable. So if I come to 2 again, then the value is 2. If I move to 3, then I have increased the value by 1. So it becomes 3. Again, I move to 4, then the value has been increased by 1 to 4. So this is the process that will follow to count the length of the linked list or to get what is the length of the linked list. I'll go to my Eclipse IDE and we'll try to code this particular problem statement there. So this is my Eclipse IDE and I have already created a self-tuts.java file, and these are the some codes which is present here. I'll explain you what this particular code does. Don't get overwhelmed by it because we are going to explain each and every step one by one. So in this particular linked list, this is a node and we have represented this node by using this class. So this node is there which is having 2 properties. One is data and one is the next. So these 2 properties are present in a node, and then this is the a class, or this is the self.java file which is containing the main method, which is the entry point of our application. Now here in this code we have created a linked list of something like this. That is, we have created a new node and set the value of that data equal to 1. So the data came as 1. Now in the second line number 16, we created a node 2 object, and then what we did, we set the data value as 2 and the next of the node 1, which means what, this was node 1 and the next has been pointed to the node 2. Same way what we have done for the node 3, node 4 and node 5, and then we have created this particular linked list like structure using this simple code. Now this node head is what? It is pointing to our node 1. So this node head is pointing to our node 1. So what we need to do, we need to traverse the loop and we need to maintain a count variable so that we can increase the count and finally we can get the length of linked list. So the first thing that we need to do here is we need to create a method find length which will accept the head node and then it will return the number of nodes or the length of linked list. So what we'll do, we'll come here and we'll say public static void or int because we want to return an integer value, and then we'll say find length and which accepts what, which accepts the head node or any linked list node. Now what we need to do, we need to call this find length method with the head node. Okay, so once the head node has been passed here, then we need to create a temp variable because we don't need to tamper the head variable so that we can't use it again, because the same head can be passed to multiple methods in actual programming. So we don't need to modify the head value. We need to create a temp and then we need to assign it the head value. Okay, so once it has been assigned, then the first thing is what we need to check. If temp equal to null, then what we need to do, we need to just return the value of count, because we need to maintain a count variable which will be increased by 1. So we have given the first value as 0 here. So I'll come down something here, and then what we will do, we'll say return count, because if the temp is equal to null because the linked list doesn't contain any node. So in that case, we'll just say return 0. Okay, or return the count variable. If it is not null, then what we need to do, we need to traverse the linked list. So for traversal, we'll use a while loop, and inside the while loop there needs to be a condition. And the condition says what? If this temp variable is not null. So we'll say if temp not equal to null, then what we need to do, we need to say count plus plus, and then we need to set temp equal to temp dot next. Okay, so this is the traversal code, that if temp is not equal to null, then count plus plus and then temp equal to temp dot next. So in this case, if we take this first element, so in this case there was head, so the temp will point here now. So I'll come here, so the temp is here. So if temp is not equal to null, so in first case it is not equal to null, so the count will be having a value of count plus plus, that is equal to 1 after the traversal. In the second traversal, again temp is not equal to null, so the count value will be 2. Third case, temp is not equal to null, count value will be 3. Fourth, not null, 5, not null, count value will be equal to 5. So once, and in the last step, the temp will have a value of null. So in that case, it will exit from the loop, and then what we need to do, we need to say return what is count, because we have calculated the count value. So once it is there, we need to say int length of linked list equal to this, and then we need to do what, we need to say system dot out dot println, and the println will do what, length of linked list. So we'll print it. Now let's run it, and then again I'll explain you the code. So this is the linked list, and then what we are doing, we are calling this particular find length method which accepts the head node. It creates a temporary variable temp which points to the head node. It creates a count variable with initial value 0. It checks if the temp is equal to null, which means there is no node, then it just returns the count value. But if there is some node or there is some item present inside the linked list, then it traverses the linked list, it increases the value of the count, and finally it returns the count value once the while loop or the traversal of linked list is completed. So I'll try to run it, and let's say what happens. So this gives me a value of 5 because the number of nodes that are present here is equal to how much, 5. Now what I'll do, I'll delete one node. So let's say I have deleted the 5th node. So I'll delete this 5th node, and then what I'll do, I'll make the next pointer as null. So in this case, what I'm doing, I'm removing this particular link and I'm putting null equal to here. So this time the length of the linked list will be equal to 4, and let's print it. Data node 4 dot data equal to this node 3. Okay, sorry. So I need to say node 4 dot next equal to null. Okay, and this time it is 4. So this was the code that how to traverse a linked list and then find the length of the linked list. So hope you like this video, hope you like my channel. Please subscribe to my channel and please share these videos with other people. Thank you.